Okay, now we're good. Now we have audio.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, we're kind of silent there for a bit, but let's record now. Puppies and movies
Hey, hello.
and stuff to talk about.
Hi, it's the Media Boat Podcast. It is Wednesday, January 30th. We're almost out of January.
Oh,
Can you believe that?
It's the end of January.
Yeah. 2019. This is the Media Boat Podcast. If you don't know what we are a show that's dedicated to bringing you news. Yes, you. News about movies, television, video games, and music. Not necessarily in that order. My name is Matt. His name is Mike.
I'm Mike. He's Matt. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, we got a packed show. So we're going to get rolling right now.
Yeah, we got quite a lot of thoughts to go through. We got thoughts in... Did you watch Rent?
I did not.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about that,
ended up
but we
not
do need to talk
watching
about that.
So we'll roll right into it then.
We got some movies, TV, music, and video game thoughts to go through.
It's true. We have stuff to talk about. So first up...
So let's roll it right into where we always start.
We always start in movies. And we always start movies with the weekend box office numbers. This week we saw a debut at number 1, M. Night Shyamalan's Glass.
Rollover.
What?
That's a rollover. That's not a
Did we talk
debut.
about this last week?
That was last week.
Okay.
That's a rollover.
Glass is your number 1 movie. Sorry, not a debut, I guess. Well, I lost a week, apparently, in my memory. $18 million, adding to a $73 million total. The Upside is your number 2 with $11 million, adding to $62 million. Aquaman at number 3 with 7.2. That's at 316 now, domestically. The Kid Who Would Be King comes in at number 4, $7.1 million.
And rounding out your top 5.
Running at top 5, Spider-Man.
Hey, still hanging around.
Hanging out on the web with 169 total. 6 million this week. 169, nice. Million domestically.
So there was one other release this week, Serenity.
Yeah.
And I remember what that film was.
Yes, this is the Serenity that's not the movie based on Firefly. This is another movie called Serenity.
Yes, this is Serenity starring Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
Who gets bribed into killing someone and then has thoughts about it. Apparently the boat's named Serenity, I think.
Huh.
Yeah. I remember seeing the trailer for this, actually. And thinking, that looks like a boring-ass film. Because all internal conflict of no, thank you.
Well, apparently audiences found it boring too because it only made $4 million this week. Number 8.
Yeah.
So that's barely in the top 10.
Matthew McConaughey film, right there.
No one cares, turns out. What's coming up this weekend, you ask?
What do you got this weekend to look forward to?
One movie. Just the one movie. Miss Bala, which is your Gina Rodriguez vehicle.
Yes, this is. I'm a teacher. I'm on spring vacation in Mexico, and then I get turned into the drug trafficking, and now I work for the FBI as a double informant.
Yeah.
Confusing. It sounds like. But this is also a high-octane action film, if that's what you're into.
So yeah.
If not, you could be at home with everyone else watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the big hits hit next week. But yeah, for now, save yourself a trip to the movies. Just stay home.
Yep.
Not a whole lot going on here. But some stuff happened in the awards sphere this week.
Oh, big award sphere.
As we roll right into movie news, because you didn't see any of the movies that we just discussed.
No.
We'll wait for thoughts until the end of the movie.
Yes, I did watch films, but
we'll get to
that in a bit here.
First up, though, movie news. Our first bit is, like I said, about award season as it chugs along, leading towards the end of next month, which, of course, is when your Oscars are.
Right, and that's what we're looking forward to.
But the next big hit was the SAG Awards. Those are your Screen Actors Guild Awards.
Yes, this was on Sunday night. And SAG is usually a good predictor on who will win Best Picture.
In the past, it has been. In the last 3 years, however, that has not been the case.
Yeah, in the last 4 to 6 years, it's gone every other year where Best Ensemble has gone on to win Best Picture.
But in this case, lately, the odds have not been in their favor. But here's what, or I guess I should say who, took home some SAG Awards this week.
What won? What's the who are the best actors that the actors think are best?
Well, your best ensemble prize went to the cast of Black Panther.
Yeah, that's a
surprising.
surprise
Yeah.
because normally best ensemble goes on to win best picture.
Again, like you said, not recently, but yes, in the past.
I think this is good.
I think this is interesting. I mean, it's definitely probably the biggest prize that Black Panther has taken home so far in award season.
Right. I do want to say that this could mean Black Panther has a shot.
I don't think so.
I think based on Oscar history, in terms of what is one best picture, probably not.
I think it means...
But in terms of like a cultural zeitgeist, I think, yes, it can be considered best picture talk about worthy.
I think it's in a conversation. I don't think it's in my conversation of what I think are the front runners.
I think it's in your conversation for top 5.
Well, yes, by default.
By default.
But that wasn't the only thing that won. Glenn Close took home Best Actress, or I guess I should say in the parlance of the SAG Awards, Best Female Actor.
Yes.
They use the actor term for everyone.
Yes, they are all actors.
Yes.
They just have to be male or female.
Rami
But yes,
Malek,
this means Glenn Close is a lock to win the Oscar.
Give or take, but yeah, it seems like that she's the pick. As is Rami Malek, who took home Best Male Actor.
Mm-hmm. Stealing it away from... Well, no, not stealing it away. He was great in it. But that will probably end up being the only award Bohemian Rhapsody will win come Oscar season.
Yeah, probably. That's where my money is, too.
Yeah.
Mahershala Ali, there we go, won Best Supporting Actor for Green Book.
Yep, we'll actually talk about Green Book in a little bit here.
Okay, and Emily Blunt won Supporting Actor, a female actor, for A Quiet Place.
And that's a surprise.
That was a surprise to me.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I watched some of these, by the way. I don't know if you watched the whole thing. I watched most of it.
I watched most of it as well. The latter half. I did see Alan Alda's speech, though. He was the Lifetime Achievement Award.
I saw that as well.
That was a great speech.
That was good.
That was really good.
It was cool to see him up there. But yeah, but movies weren't the only focus. Since we're talking about this, we might as well talk about the TV prizes as well.
Right, because actors aren't just on film; they're on the small screen as well.
It's true. Marvelous Miss Maisel won.
It's swept.
You said Marvelous Miss Maisel wins Best Actor, but I think what you mean...
No. It won Best Actor for Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah.
Best Actress for... what's her name?
Rachel Brosnahan.
Yes, Rachel Brosnahan.
And Ensemble.
And then Best Ensemble. It swept everything.
So the show won those awards.
Yes.
Also, Jason Bateman won Best Male Actor for Drama.
That is for his Netflix Ozarks.
And Sandra Oh for Best Actress for Killing Eve.
Yep. Those roll right alongside pretty much the Emmys and everything else.
Yep. This Is Us for Ensemble won vote, though, for Drama Ensemble.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's always nominated but never wins.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So here we go. Of course, next year it's going to go to Game of Thrones.
Probably. When they come back.
Enjoy it while it lasts. This Is Us.
But then, yeah, and also, as you mentioned, Alan Alda took home a Life Achievement Award. And, yes, gave that speech, as you mentioned.
Yep.
All right. Well, those were the SAG Awards. But speaking of Bohemian Rhapsody, in which Rami Malek has won the award for...
The reason it will not win at the Academy Awards.
Yeah, here's the stuff. I mean, we have had this story going on for a while here. We haven't necessarily dedicated a news spot for it.
No. So, we were supposed to talk about this last week.
But there's just so much to talk about.
But there is.
We didn't really fit it in. But this is technically a story that dropped last week, although it's a story that's been existed in Hollywood for literally a decade now.
Yeah.
Director Bryan Singer, who, as you know, was fired from the project, but is still credited for directing the film.
Right. He walked us set with a month left in filming.
Yeah. He has been accused, I want to say several times, of sexual assault and misconduct against young men and teenage boys. The story recently, though, got an expose in The Atlantic, which has brought this to an even higher degree of I guess, eyes on it than ever before. This, though, harkens back all the way back to 2004, where a similar expose was published about not only Bryan Singer, but a bunch of people in league with him and parties that they would have at a mansion that involved several cases and stories of misconduct. And unfortunately, though...
Note that was in the lead up to Superman Returns, a film he directed, also starring Kevin Spacey.
Right, yes, this was related to Kevin Spacey at the time as well. But one of the things important to note about that story, though, is that it unfortunately was thrown out of court during proceedings, which kind of led to less credibility about the Bryan Singer story as a whole, which basically buried it for another decade. What you're seeing now is a resurgence of the story. The Atlantic piece does interview a lot of people who are also interviewed back in 2004 about similar allegations, bringing them back to light and bringing more credibility to the story as a whole.
Right, so, this is 15 years later.
So essentially, I call this Bryan Singer's reckoning. It's finally being a thing that enough people are talking about where he might actually see repercussions for this. Or will he? I say or will he because another story that hit this week was, that you don't have down here, but I might as well mention since we're talking about it. Yeah. He is also attached to the movie based on the comic Red Sonja. There was discussion about him being removed from the project in light of this story going up. No, the production has instead decided to take Singer's side. He is still attached to that project and will still direct.
Okay, I know for the upcoming film Dark Phoenix, which is also at 20th Century Fox, since Days of Future Past, which Bryan Singer directed, he has been on as a producer. He will still be a producer on the film, in name only, though.
So basically, he has not been removed from any current projects that he is working on, at least that are known.
Right.
No word on whether anybody has plans on removing him from projects in the future.
Right. Also, speaking of Dark Phoenix, huge production troubles on that. Even though Bryan Singer is not directing it, Simon Kinberg is, and he wrote the previous 3 X-Men films. That thing has gone through so many test screenings that everyone who's walked out of it has just been like, no. Yeah. Also, it's got moved dates several times. So where now it's just going to come out in the summer, be a dud that Fox is ready to write off, and then being sold to Disney.
Yeah. Not great.
No.
But lastly, though, one thing that did get taken away from him, though, is that originally it was in contention at this year's GLAAD Awards, Bohemian Rhapsody being what I'm referring to.
Right, but now back to the original story.
But now he will be removed from contention, so Bohemian Rhapsody will not be up for any GLAAD Media Awards. And in case you're wondering, reps for Singer and 20th Century Fox had no immediate comment on the story, because of course they didn't.
Of course they didn't.
Because it's award season, they're going to wait until all of that is over before they probably discuss future plans for Singer.
They don't want to shoot themselves in the foot with any potential awards.
Immediately ending your Oscar campaign if you did something like that.
Which is why I don't think it will win.
No.
For Best Picture.
No, it doesn't have a chance in hell now. It didn't before, but now it especially doesn't.
Yep.
And I think you see the Bohemian Rhapsody gets completely shut out except for actor.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
I see Rami Malek winning. See...
I
think Roma is now your favorite.
I think Roma
is a critical favorite.
Your critical favorite. I think, like I said, I think Vice has a shot.
Yes.
I think Vice is the alternate pick, but Roma I still think is your frontrunner.
And this what makes the Black Panther win so interesting.
It could be
is that it kind of opens it up for it to actually win.
You're right. It does open up as the populist wild card, which Bohemian Rhapsody could have been if it wasn't for this controversy. Wow, we talked a lot about Bryan Singer, but yeah, that's pretty much the story is so far.
But we'll see. The dirtbag is getting his due. Yeah,
about time. All right, well, you saw some movies. Not involving dirtbags. You saw Green Book.
Okay, so I had seen 6 of the 8 nominees. Mm-hmm. I decided to cross out one more on my list.
All right.
7 of 8. which was Green Book.
Okay.
This film usually came out in August or September. Little unknown film that garnered some good praise and continued with that into award season, winning Golden Globe for Best Comedy and Musical.
Yeah.
It was really well acted.
Okay.
I could see why Mahershala Ali won Best Supporting Actor. I could just see him winning Best Supporting Actor in come Oscar time. He's good at it, but then again, he's pretty much good in everything that he does. That's not surprising. The film, however, doesn't really do anything new or exciting, but the story it's being told is one of importance, I feel.
Okay. Do you think this has a chance in the screenwriting category, for example?
Yes. I only say that because I know the history of this film. It actually appeared in the Blacklist. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This film was appeared in the screenwriters Blacklist.
Okay.
Like 3 or 4 years ago. I know this because we look it up every single time.
You always look.
I always look it up. But yeah, so it's a really well written script. I could definitely see why it had trouble getting produced because there's not a whole lot in this film substance wise. It's pretty straightforward. There are layers to it, but I feel like Black Panther has more layers.
Sure.
In terms of like cultural meaning and conveying that. This film is a period piece. It's basically Driving Miss Daisy in reverse.
I had heard that comparison before as well.
I didn't like making that comparison, but the more I just think about it, the more it kind of is.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of racial undertones and racial overtones.
Sure.
It covers the entire spectrum of that because it does take place in 1963. It's a story I didn't know. I didn't really know this classical piano guy, doctor, as he is. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely an interesting story. Definitely one you should check out on TV, though. Nothing to rush to see it in theaters.
Okay.
Like I said, I only saw it because I wanted to check it off my Oscar list.
Right.
Meaning the only one I have not seen is The Favorite, and I really don't have any plans to see that.
I heard it's good.
I heard the acting's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen the trailers for it, and I just have no interest in seeing it.
Okay.
But yeah, Green Book is well enough to check out. I don't...
But you're giving it a solid stream it.
Yeah, solid stream it.
Yeah.
It's nothing in the film is to like write home about. Like, oh, you got to go for this scene. You got to go see it because of this acting. Like, it's good acting, but it's because also expected from these people, both Mahershala Ali and Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah. So it's expected of them to bring their A game. I don't get anything like I said. There's nothing to write home about. I can see why it's nominated because it's a solid film, but there's nothing to put it over the top to win for me.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, but that's not the only movie you saw.
No, it's not.
So we talked about this movie last week in the context of its box office placement.
Yes.
But now you've actually seen Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Yes. So, as I mentioned...
Is it a Dragon Ball
I don't know
movie?
if I mentioned this on podcast or off, because you were asking me about it.
I think we were talking about it last week on the podcast.
Okay. But yeah, this is actual canonization of Broly.
Broly was a dude, you said that was introduced in the non-canonical seasons and was brought now
the non-canonical movies post Dragon Ball Z, where they needed to, they wanted to make films about Dragon Ball Z, but not have Akira Toriyama involved.
Right.
Well, Akira Toriyama is involved in this film. He canonizes. There's several things this film does really well. One, it canonizes Broly. Two, it canonizes several characters throughout the non-canon films, and basically brings it these are actual canon now.
Yeah.
It does several techniques, which is basically just Dragon Ball lore being canon now. There's several backstories that are brought into focus here. Overall, it's a really good Dragon Ball film. It does a lot of stuff right, especially if you're like me and fan of the series and fan of Super as well. And you've seen like all the alternate movies as well, bringing up into this. And just the actual animation and fight sequences are some of the best, if not the finest work Funimation, Toriyama, Fuji Animation has ever done.
Wow, okay.
It is spectacular. It is worthy of a big screen.
Cool.
Fight sequences. Like, I knew, like, once Super was done, they put the entire team on this work, and it shows. There's fight sequences, are just beautiful to watch. There's so much, like, lore and in-depth and, like, nods and winks throughout the series as well. And just a lot of, like, little touches that puts it over the edge.
Is this subtitled or dubbed?
Both.
What? No. Which one?
Oh. It's dubbed.
Okay. How is it both?
Because they actually released the subbed version before they released the dubbed version.
Okay. But the version you saw was dubbed.
Yes, the version I saw was dubbed.
Okay. Okay. So is that I guess that's probably a go see it with an asterisk, because you're like, if you have no interest in Dragon Ball Z, probably don't see this movie. Yeah. I have zero reason to see this.
Oh yeah, you zero reason to see this. But if you're a fan of Dragon Ball,
right.
Like you play the video games, you've watched Super, you're up to date. This is worth the price of admission. It's well done.
Good.
It's like I said, it's the Dragon Ball team at their finest. They took their time on this thing. They've done the research. It's like the fans who grew up watching the Dragon Ball series are making this film for the fans.
Right. It's gone through the whole cycle at this point.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, you know what that means.
Oh, it's time for TV now.
It's time to segue right into television, and we always start television with sports.
Oh, what did you?
And of course, this coming weekend is the biggest weekend of sports of all year.
Every TV will be turned to CBS. That's right. This game is on CBS.
Don't forget. Super Bowl 43.
The reason I bring that up,
sorry.
53. The reason I bring CBS up is because if you're planning on watching this via stream, one, make sure your stream has it. Two, make sure even if it does have a stream, that it's not going to be blocked.
Right.
Because CBS has CBS Sports and CBS All Access, which it will be using to heavily advertise and heavily make sure that is the only way you're going to watch this thing.
Yeah. Because
it's CBS and it's the Super Bowl.
But technical restrictions regardless.
Yes.
Most people will be watching the Super Bowl this weekend.
Yes.
And if you tune in, you'll be treated to a halftime show, as we've stated in previous podcasts, with Maroon 5 featuring Travis Scott and Big Boy. But if you are less excited about that, and there will also be commercials. And, of course, a football game.
Yes. There will be commercials galore. Budweiser has already put up their preview commercials. Geico has been running their Best of Geico ad commercials for it. Expect a new Bud Night commercial. What else we have? Speaking of commercials, I know it's not in here, but CBS has actually banned a commercial. This happens every year where they ban commercials. This year, it is for medicinal marijuana.
That's not surprising, considering that is still federally not legal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. But in, I would say, a quarter of the states, it's legal.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. It's on the rise. But yeah, so they pulled an ad for that. You can watch the ad online. There's nothing really controversial about it. But it's,
CBS is playing it safe.
Yeah, CBS is definitely playing it safe.
Yeah. Also in football, NFL honors are on Saturday.
Yes. Oh, by the way, I know we didn't mention it, but it's New England Patriots versus the LA Rams.
We talked about it last week, but yes, in case you've been living under a rock, yes, it's Los Angeles and New England in the Super Bowl.
Yes. It's been media week out in Super Bowl land.
Yes.
So lots of interviews with everyone. You got Gronk dancing, Brady laughing at questions, Belichick being Belichick, and just be grunting like one-word answers.
Yeah, you know what to expect.
Yep.
All right, and elsewhere in sports, so yeah, like I said, NFL honors on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. They will announce not only the MVP of the league, they'll also do offensive, defensive player of the years and coach of the year, and they will also do announce who is in the NFL Hall of Fame this year, the inductees.
Right. So yeah, a lot of football excitement happening this weekend.
Oh yeah.
And not exclusive to the Super Bowl.
But there's more sports to talk about.
But there's more sports because in golf,
yes,
Justin Rose won this past weekend. Tiger
Yes.
Woods finished 20.
Yeah, tied for 20th. He was supposed to be the favorite going into this.
It
Torrey
definitely was
Pines.
not.
And nope.
So, oh well.
Yep.
And this was, what was this?
Torrey
competition?
Pines.
Torrey Pines.
One of the first big majors. Or not majors, but big tournaments for golf of the year.
Meanwhile, in another sport that you have not listed here, Naomi Osaka,
Oh, this is the Australia Open.
Australian Open, okay, got it,
Yes.
becomes the first Asian woman to be ranked number 1 overall after her win. Novak Djokovic.
Djokovic.
Wow. Okay.
You don't know who that is, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Beats Rafael Nadal to win also something.
Have you heard of those names?
No.
Okay. Those are tennis players.
Got it, okay. Australian Open tennis, got it.
Yes. Yeah, it's big news for Naomi Osaka to be named number 1 overall, officially ranked number 1 overall.
Ah.
And then, Nadal basically choked against Djokovic. I say choked just because he beat him in like 3 straight sets.
Mm.
But, they're like the 1 and 2 top tennis players. So, just to say you choked isn't really like
Yeah.
doing it much.
Also in sports though, meanwhile in hockey.
Oh yeah. So I've been saying that the NHL All-Star Weekend is coming up. Well, it was last week.
Yeah, I guess it's not coming up, it happened.
It happened.
But in case you were paying attention to that, the All-Star was this past weekend.
Yes.
And there was a female hockey player represented in the event. Kendall Coyne Schofield. Competed in the fastest skater competition.
Yes. She is clocked in as the fastest skater for women's hockey. So
Okay.
she decided to race against the men. She placed 6th.
Not bad.
That's pretty good.
Also, according to Twitter, Gritty was apparently the fastest mascot.
Yes. And Grady had a lot of fun there. I don't know if you saw
yes,
it.
Gritty seemed to be enjoying him
Yes. Did it?
themselves.
Do I have another player on there?
You do not.
Okay, cut off then.
Yeah.
There was another female hockey star
Okay.
who was on there doing the pass and shoot competition, precision passing competition, who was the fastest out and beat everyone. So she won the $25,000 prize.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then also, because we're locals here,
Yes.
goalie for the Anaheim Ducks, John Gibson, it was an all-star. For some reason. I say this because he was scored on 7 of 9 shots.
Oof.
Yeah, 7 of 9 shots.
Yeah, that's rough.
The Pacific ended up losing that game 10-1. With 7 of those coming from one guy.
That would make sense.
One goalie mistake. But yes, so yeah, hockey happened this past weekend.
Yeah.
Which means we're halfway through the season.
Yeah, I guess so. So, if you like the hockey, you tuned into that. But yes, as most of the sports world will be obliterated by football this weekend, there's not a whole lot else to talk about unless you got something else.
Nope, I just wanted to note those competitions. But yeah, it's going to be Super Bowl on Sunday. And then we don't have to talk about football for another 2 months.
Yeah,
Because
only
that's
2
what,
months.
Oh yeah, because that's when the draft is, in April.
So we'll return to that when it's proper. In the meantime, there's television news to talk about.
Oh yes, actual TV news.
So yes, first up, speaking of, we're not done talking about the Super Bowl because we have another story about the Super Bowl.
Oh, yes.
Before we move on.
So, you know Maroon 5 performing.
We do know that Maroon 5 is performing. But what we don't know is exactly what they're going to be performing. They have a lot of hits. But if the internet is to be believed, there may be something else in their repertoire from a certain Yellow Sponge.
So, as we noted on here, Steven Hillenburg
Yes.
passed last year.
Right, the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants. Well, there's been an online petition in the meantime to honor him at the Super Bowl with a performance of Sweet Victory, the song performed at a halftime show in the episode Band Geeks.
Yep.
This, of course, being the episode where I believe Squidward is trying to impress his rival Squilliam by proving that he can organize a band, like a real band. This involves SpongeBob and friends as a symphonic band of sorts, who are really terrible for most of the episode, with Patrick specifically even asking at one point if mayonnaise is an instrument.
In a classic line.
My favorite.
This is a classic SpongeBob episode.
But yeah, I end up pulling it together by pulling together a crazy, amazing performance at the actual show that blows Squilliam's mind. It's a fun episode of the show. But yeah, and a memorable song. So yeah, people online want to see Maroon 5 take a crack at it.
The petition online had garnered 1 million hits.
That's a lot.
1 million signatures.
Roger Bumpus, the voice of Squidward in the show, has confirmed on his Facebook page that he'll be introducing the halftime entertainment in character as Squidward. So this is something that leads credence to the theory that if this is happening, well, they have Squidward on the field, they might as well commit. So that's not the only proof that this might actually be a thing. 1 minute promo vids that came out from both Maroon 5 and the Mercedes-Benz Stadium social media account, which is where the game is taking place.
Yes, in Atlanta.
Have both shown references to SpongeBob. There are currently several prop bets on whether Maroon 5, you used the wrong weather there, whether Maroon 5 will perform the song, and if a SpongeBob costume or inflatable will be used, or if SpongeBob will take a knee.
And this is where it actually gets interesting, because Vegas will not make a prop bet if they don't think it's actually gonna happen.
These things could happen.
So the fact that there's even talks that Vegas has actual odds on this means it's more of a possibility than you may think.
Yeah, these things could happen.
Whether it's actually going to happen, we'll see. Whether it's just going to be the introduction, or if Sweet Victory will actually be played.
I could see them doing starting to play it and play it for 30 seconds and then move into a Maroon 5 song. Just at the beginning. I could 100% see that's how they do this. Because if you're introing it with Squidward, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Have Squidward do the intro, you do the bit with the horns, and then you go into Sweet Victory, and then 30 seconds later, Maroon 5 does a Maroon 5 song.
You're right.
I think that's how they do this. It makes sense.
You don't do the whole thing, you just do a quick 10 seconds. Because the whole performance is only 12
15 minutes,
15, 12,
I think,
15
give
minutes?
or take, yeah. So yeah, not a whole lot of time, and they have a lot to get in with both Big Boy and Travis Scott. Yep. So, yeah.
Speaking of...
Guess we'll see on Sunday.
Yeah, speaking of other bets, because of the Super Bowl, Vegas accepts all bets, including bets on the coin toss, overtime, flags, touchdowns, who will score first. You can make any bet you want in Vegas. Go crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. So fun.
Yeah.
All right. Next up in television news, Fox did a live performance of the musical Rent.
Yes.
This past
live.
Weekend. Saturday.
Did you watch it?
I did not watch this. We were thinking about watching it, then we decided to watch the SAG Awards instead. Or wait, no, that wasn't the same night.
Yeah.
Was that the same night?
That was the same night.
Okay, yeah. Then we were watching the SAG Awards instead. And then I think we watched something else after that. So no, we did not watch Rent.
So I put Rent on for the first 5 minutes because I was eating dinner. Then I finished, and I immediately switched it. I think actually Red Dead went on.
Well, apparently...
Oh, no, that's right. No. I turned on the countdown for Kingdom Hearts that
makes
time.
Sense.
Because that was at 9 o'clock.
Well, that
Oh, no, that was Monday.
probably is a good thing that we didn't watch the whole thing, because it looks like that wasn't even the actual live performance. Instead, it was a dress rehearsal. The reason being, one of the lead actors in the live production of Rent broke his foot while running downstairs to do their final quick change during dress rehearsals on Saturday night.
Yes. So for those of you that don't know, they actually filmed the dress rehearsals in case something goes wrong.
Because they didn't have that on tape, because he broke his foot leading up to that event.
Yep.
There wasn't an understudy for his role, so there was no way around this. Pretty much just a technical disaster, though, because as I could understand from television audiences, they couldn't tell the difference. It seems like I did hear some feedback about people talking about it having a dress rehearsal air to it, but that was before this news came out.
Right.
So I don't think most people watching this thing knew that it was not as live as it was purported.
Well, when you do dress rehearsals, it's basically going through the full run of the production.
And it's also live to tape, which so people, especially on the West Coast, where it wouldn't have been live ever, wouldn't have known the difference even if they did have gone, even if they did go live, unless they were planning to do it both coasting. But I don't think they did that for this one.
No, I don't think they did.
Yeah,
I think it was like shoot.
I think the NBC ones they do the both coasts thing.
I think the NBC. Yeah. No, well this was 4 hours,
they did.
3 hours.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So yeah,
things happen. Things happen. Live TV
folks.
goes cranky sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. So,
and this is why you do that, because you never know what happens.
Yeah, and so they had something. They had a solution in mind. They did the solution, and most TV audiences probably didn't even know. So not much news here. Just a fun little, or I guess not fun for the dude who broke his foot, no. But interesting anecdote from the show. But that does it.
Yeah, but I didn't see it, so
we didn't watch it.
So we can't really comment on how well it was produced or whatever. But
so that
it happened.
That's it for television news.
Okay, so do you have any thoughts then?
I did not watch any new television this week besides those SAGs. So
you did watch the end of Steven Universe, though.
I did watch that, but that's old news at this point.
Now that's old news at this point?
Yeah, we already talked about it when you talked.
Okay.
We talked about it. Plus, we really can't say anything about that thing without spoiling.
Well, no, you can't.
Though, I will say it was very well produced. It has some of the best animation the show has ever seen. Mm-hmm. It definitely, if you care at all about that show or the lore, you should definitely make sure you watch that, because it definitely has long-lasting implications about the theme, the thematics of that show, and what certain characters are and everything. It's very, very good.
Well, speaking of long-lasting impact of the show,
okay,
we do have something to talk about.
Okay.
This past Thursday was the season finale of The Good Place.
Oh, yeah, the season finale of The Good Place happened.
So, we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that briefly. I thought it was a really, really interesting way of ending the season, and a way that they hadn't done before.
I wanted to throw my remote through the TV.
Yeah, it's usually how The Good Place has done things, at least for the first two seasons, season finales, is that they leave a cliffhanger that is world-altering. This time, they didn't really do that. Instead, it's not world-altering, because they already did the world-altering thing 2 episodes prior.
Yep.
So they couldn't do that. Instead, they did something character-altering, which, again, changes up the status quo of that show. So they're able to do something completely fresh and, completely out of nowhere, and still something different than that they've done before with the show.
It is quite amazing that the show can keep me on my toes and and basically throw the status quo out the window, saying, anything that you think is going to happen, no, we're not doing that, because this is not a cliched show. This is a fresh comedy that has no formula to it. Every show is unique. Every show is different. Every episode has its own ups and downs and themes to it that weave through this really larger interconnecting story, and it's fascinating.
So it's anybody's guess how they'll approach this with next season. It just sucks we have to wait. But I firmly think, though, I'm thinking, I don't know. It's a toss-up for me between which one is their Emmy consideration. Or if they submit both and hope to get nominated twice.
Oh,
could happen.
The Darcy
for,
one?
Writing. Yeah. Because, the one with all the Janets,
and I think it's titled Janet.
but this one might be the best one.
Yeah, the season finale.
It's just that they do stuff with characters that I didn't think they were capable of. Also, it's one of those episodes where you realize, oh wow, I am actually invested in these characters more than I thought I was on this comedy show. On this usually very lighthearted, silly, like absurd show. They actually like remind you, oh no, you actually care about this relationship. Here's why.
Oh yeah.
It's very, very cool. But yeah, that's it for television.
Okay.
Which means it's time for cancellations and renewals.
All right, what got canceled?
We do have a cancellation, but it's among a bunch of renewals. Suits on USA, the long-running Suits.
It's still running, apparently.
Has an upcoming 9th season. Yeah, 9.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? However, 9 seasons will be it, because canceled after that season will end. So yes, USA will not be bringing back Suits beyond the 9th season, so no 10th season of Suits.
So no Supernatural, we're just going to keep running this thing?
No. They know when it's run its course, and it's done after this coming up season. F is for Family on Netflix will be renewed for a 4th season.
That is a wonderful show about not-so-wonderful people.
She-Ra and the Princess of Power, also on Netflix, gets a 2nd season.
Right, this is from the same guys that brought you the Voltron series.
Yes.
Same animation
FBI on CBS gets a 2nd season. Magnum PI, also on CBS, the reboot Magnum PI, also gets a 2nd season.
Mm-hmm.
The Neighborhood, also at CBS, gets a 2nd season. So a lot of returning CBS dramas.
The Neighborhood is a comedy.
The Neighborhood is a comedy, but okay. So,
yes. Yes. A CBS Freshmen get a second show.
And I don't know why, but God Friended Me also gets a 2nd season.
Speaking of 2nd seasons.
But we do have another cancellation. Stand Against Evil on IFC will be canceled after 3 seasons.
So, we knew this was happening because they were all up for contracts. And this is just IFC confirming that, yes, we will not be renewing Stand vs. Evil.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That's it for cancellations, renewals. We do have a few deaths here we need to get through.
All right. Who left us?
Oh, the most unfortunate out of the list, James Ingram, age 66, a famous R&B singer-songwriter and a Grammy winner. He won back in 1982 and 85. I've seen a lot of stories going out to him this week. Mm-hmm. A lot of in memoriams. Erica Yon, age 90, an actress who was in, among other things, I assume, An American Tail and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And lastly, Steve Bell, age 83, was a news anchor, most notably of Good Morning America and World News This Morning. So there you go.
Yep.
Those are 3 deaths.
3 deaths.
But there we go. Into music, which means I get to pass this on to you.
And that means we get into the Billboard.
Billboard charts!
So, we start Billboard with the Hot 100.
Your singles
list. And we have a new leader.
You have a new #1 song this week.
But from a familiar face. It is 7 Rings by Ariana Grande. I did not know this was a thing.
This is Ariana's new song.
Yes.
Came out a couple weeks ago now. I guess week and a half, technically.
I guess.
It's named after, I guess, a time where she and her friends went to the Tiffany's and she bought her 6 other friends rings. Matching rings that they all could wear because she's rich. Did you know she was rich?
I had a feeling.
But yeah, that's essentially what the song is.
She has a grande lifestyle.
It's a big flex about how rich she is, with a chorus that cribs from My Favorite Things from Sound of Music.
These are a few of my favorite
Exactly. Borrows the tune from that. So yes,
no, thank you.
That's what 7 Rings is.
No, thank you. #2 is Without Me by Halsey.
Yep.
Speaking of Halsey, she will be doing double duty on SNL this week.
Right, hosting and musical guest.
Yep. #3, Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee
Spider-Man.
off that Spider-Man soundtrack. #4, another Ariana Grande, Thank You, Next.
Yep.
And #5, Sicko Mode by Travis Scott.
Yep,
What
same old.
you can probably expect to be played at the Super Bowl.
Yes, Sicko Mode will be at the Super Bowl at some point. Guaranteed.
As for your Billboard 200,
Your albums.
we have Future Hundreds.
We had a new #1 album this week, folks.
Yes, Future Hundreds presents The Wizard.
I believe that's probably pronounced Future Hendrix.
Future Hendrix. You know, if you don't put a vowel, I'm not going to say a vowel.
The Wizard.
Wizard. Yes, this is Future's album.
Future. The artist known as Future.
Yes, we knew this would probably be number one when it was announced.
Yeah. I'll get to that. I listened to this thing. I'll get to that in thoughts.
As you do, as you're listening to every number one.
And yeah, as we'll get to later. I am regretting that decision.
Already?
3 albums in. And yeah, I'll get to it.
Alright, number 2 is Heard It in a Past Life by Maggie Rogers.
Yes.
3 is Hoodie Season by A Boogie with a Hoodie.
Hanging in there.
4 is Spider-Man by various artists.
Yep.
And 5 is I Am Greater Than I Was by 21 Savage.
Still in there.
Alright. I'm not listening to any of those.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
I have now listened to 2 of those.
3.
3?
3.
I listened to 3 of them?
You listened to 3 of them.
Have I?
Hoodie Season,
oh, right.
I Am Greater Than I Was,
Savage.
and now Future Hendrix.
Alright. Get some fresh blood in here.
Alright, you want some fresh blood? I'll give you some fresh blood.
Alright.
Upcoming this week.
What are you listening to?
I know where you're listening to, but here are the new releases.
There we go. Did it.
We have Broods with Don't Feed the Pop Monster.
I want to note also that this is not everything. Again, how I'm doing these lists is if I recognize the name, I will put it down.
Ah.
Yeah. So no bands that I don't recognize.
We have Girlpool.
Yes.
With What Chaos is Imaginary.
I will be listening to this.
The Specials with Encore. Meghan Trainor. Yes, that Meghan Trainor.
Yep.
With Treat Myself by treating yourself to this album.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Kroll with Power Chords.
Wait, some of these are from last week.
This sounds
Can I
like
not
last
update
week.
this?
Say anything?
Yes, these are...
Yep.
I guess I skipped some.
Yep.
Starting from Beirut is where we pick up back from this week.
That's what I thought.
I skipped a couple.
Oh, yeah. So we have Beirut with Gallipoli and Cherry Glazer with Stuffed and Ready.
Which I will also be listening to this week.
Okay. Well, we're not done talking about the Oscars just yet, apparently.
No, there's another story about the Oscars. Sorry, it was not actually that slow of a week. There were some other things that I could have done, but I felt like this was more relevant because of the heat that was on it.
I think you're kind of right.
Yeah, so, yes, the Oscars
So
have a music component.
Yes, for Best Original Song.
Yes.
Normally, whenever you're nominated, you have to go out and perform that song during the show.
It's a tradition that I'm glad they have, because a lot of the years I'm like, I'm not familiar with this song. Say it's from like a documentary film that I've never seen.
Yep.
What's going on with this song? And so having somebody actually there perform it has, one, been a very educational service, and two, has created a lot of memorable moments at the Oscars. The most recent probably being, remember the performance that Common did and company did for Selma.
Right.
Remember how big of a moment that was for that performance.
Which it went on to win.
For that night. And it went on to win that night. I think you'll have less of those moments if you cut them, which is what the story is.
Which is what they're going to do,
Yeah.
apparently. As, I lost my place here. As the only 2 songs this year that will be sung out of the 5 nominated songs.
At least as of this recording.
Yes, as of this recording, will be All the Stars from Black Panther featuring various artists, and Lady Gaga's Shalalalo from A Star Is Born.
Right.
Those are the only 2 chosen by the Academy execs and show producers for performances on the telecasts. The other 3 songs, which are The Place Where Lost Things Go from Mary Poppins Returns, I'll Fight from the Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary, and When a Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings from the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Right.
Would likely be acknowledged, but not sung during the ceremony.
Yeah, this sucks.
I actually liked that last song, When a Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings. I thought it was funny and really poignant, and also satirical in nature, which is very layered for a song.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad it's nominated. Won't win though, but I'm glad it's nominated. I'd probably say the same for the other 2 because they're not the big attractors here.
Right.
And to cut down on telecast, I see why they would choose only 2.
Yeah, I get why, but it's like the frustrating part to me is it's like seems every step in this process of trying to shorten the show and like make it tighter. They're cutting the things that people love, which is totally the opposite of what they need to be doing. Mm-hmm. Yes, people complain about how long the Oscars are, but because of the parts we don't like, not because of the parts we do. Mm-hmm. Don't cut awards and don't cut performances. Cut everything else.
you end up with a bare bones, here's the presenter, here's the award.
That's all we want.
I know that's all we want, because that's really all we need.
Yeah, and that's the frustrating part to me, is like you could make a shorter, tighter show if you shorten everything around the awards and performances. I don't know.
You can also shorten the commercial ads.
Right, it's like, I think that there's a lot of things that are being considered. They just don't want to cut the... They want to cut the things that that are easy to cut.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I include this because it's a frustration.
I'm frustrated for it,
but also because it got some traction on the internet. Not part of the story written down here is that a lot of very high-profile people, including Lin-Manuel Miranda,
who would have performed,
who would have been a performer and a co-writer on the song from the Mary Poppins Returns, mm-hmm. Went on to Twitter to his millions of followers to talk about how he disagreed with this choice and how he really wanted the Academy to rethink their approach. The fact that somebody as important as Lin-Manuel is getting out here talking about this, there is a small chance that sometime in February we could hear about a change about this.
That they'll reverb on this and basically say, okay, we'll have all the performances, we'll fix something else.
We can hope.
Yes.
But as of this recording, no word out from the Academy about changing this, but we'll see.
I hope they do. Also, I don't think he would say as much if he wasn't specifically nominated.
Right. I don't know. He said in the tweet he just mentioned he's saying this as a fan and not necessarily as an award nominee. So he wanted to make it clear that no, he's saying this because he believes it's important, not because he wants a fair shake.
Well, yes, we can say that.
You can say that. But...
We can say that. But, you know, the fact that there are certain words basically glaring in your face there.
Yeah, for sure.
It is hard to ignore.
Yeah, but he wasn't the only person. This just says, it's just an unfortunate circumstance, and I hope the Academy keeps this in mind.
Speaking of an unfortunate circumstance,
Kanye
West.
Yeah, so I debated about doing this story, but I think it could potentially be interesting down the line if it happens.
Well, this will be interesting because on Friday, Kanye West filed a pair of lawsuits in an attempt to extract himself from his publishing and label deals. One is against EMI Publishing, with whom he signed in 2003, and it's now controlled by Sony ATV. And the other is against Universal Music Group company, Rockefeller Records, which was formerly owned by Jay-Z.
Right.
Def Jam Records and Universal Music Group merchandising arm, Bravado, as well.
So yeah, this was a lot, but basically what you need to know is that Kanye is suing all the people who have control over his music to basically get that control for himself.
This makes sense because he has his own record label, Good Music.
Yes. It also makes sense if you consider that this is something apparently he's been on the record talking about for the last year and a half. I guess somebody dug up a video in which he was talking about, in the aftermath of Prince's death, the struggle that Prince's estate was having to get all the rights of his music over the course of his lifetime. Kanye is trying to nip this in the bud before he dies.
Yes. Michael Jackson famously went out and purchased the rights to all of his songs and all of the Beatles catalog as well.
Kanye probably doesn't have the money to just buy it. So instead, he is basically saying, nah, I'm going to sue them until I get my way.
He's basically going around, he's basically doing the artist thing of, I made this content, therefore it should be mine.
It should be his. And
we'll find out in a court of law, which is interesting because this has never actually been challenged.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because it's usually solved by this kind of case-by-case basis, by the artist trying to take forceful ownership.
Right. Either that or it's normally settled out of court before it even
Right.
gets to a ruling.
Or posthumously when the artist's dead.
Yep.
But yeah, it's we'll see what happens. I don't know. Like, I don't really care, to be honest.
I see why he's doing it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It makes sense. He does have a lot of hits to his name, and he kind of wants to make sure
And
that
also,
they're in his name.
But one of the things I did think about, though, that might add an interesting wrinkle here, this does not mention future records. This does not mention, for example, the record that we were supposed to get last year, Yandhi.
Well,
And
like I said,
first
I
thing
think
that came to mind to me was, is he having a Lil Wayne style contract dispute that is keeping that record from being released? I thought about that, but I'm not sure.
No, like I said, I think this is him trying to gather everything that he has had a hand in under his own publishing Good Music group.
Yeah, well, whatever it may be, this is not confirmed, obviously. Anything will come out of this, or whether he's actually going to follow through with the suits. So far, this is all we know. That he wants to.
So, these, like we said, these are suits that have been filed. We'll see how this gets played out through this year.
Exactamundo. All
And
right,
that's why it's in here.
so we'll see.
Okay. Now, let's talk some music.
Yes,
We have
time to talk
thoughts.
some music.
All right, so you listened to a couple stuff.
I listened to a bunch of stuff. One that I didn't realize that I didn't put on here, by the way. So there was a couple of big surprises last week. Some records that came out of nowhere. A new #1 record, which I listened to. And some singles that dropped from some bands we haven't heard from in a while. So let me start from the top. I should probably just get the #1 record away. As I have stated on this podcast, I am currently doing a challenge for myself where I'm listening to every #1 record in the Billboard 200 chart.
So this week it was Future Hendrix presents The Wizard by
Yes.
Future.
All right, so right up top, I have never listened to a Future record ever before this.
Have you heard of Future music?
Yeah, I've heard a Future song. I've heard Future featured on other people's songs as well.
Okay.
So I knew Future. I knew what to expect with this thing. So remember when I talked about last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago now, with Boogie with the Hoodie?
Yes.
Well, let's put it this way. Boogie with the Hoodie is trying to be Future.
Right. I think you said that
Yeah,
in your
it's
thoughts.
like it's very, very much in that lane. Future was doing it before all of these fools. Future, like, is kind of the originator of this kind of specific, not quite. I don't know how to describe it. There's no genre name for it, so I have a hard time putting
it's
it
not
into
really
words.
R&B. It's not really rap.
It's kind of like, think about I guess he technically raps. Future raps.
Yeah.
But he also does it in kind of sing-song auto-tune tone.
So is this like the Beyonce album where you don't know what to make of it?
No, it's not like that. You know exactly what this is because it's a very popular form of music now.
Okay.
In fact, 21 Savage also kind of did this on his record and a few songs, although he also actually rapped as well. So yeah, if you know Future, you know what to expect too, because this is a lot of that. And what I mean by a lot is this is the third album in a row that I've had to listen to that has been over an hour long.
Oh, these goddamn double albums.
They are enormous and they take forever to get through.
It-
But I can report, compared to the Boogie with the Hoodie record, Future is a lot more consistent. He is a lot more. I think he has just more musicality in the way he writes, and so there were more times during this album where I was like, okay, yeah, this is interesting sonically. Like, I like what they did here. Like, I like this flourish here, and I like this weird distorted synth horn in the background of this track. There were a lot more moments where I actually thought about oh, he's saying something interesting lyrically here. Like, this song is about something. Like, the biggest problem I had with the Boogie with the Hoodie record is that he couldn't decide who he wanted to be. It was like one song he was like, oh, I'm going to talk about girls, or next song I'm going to talk about I'm depressed. Future doesn't have that problem. Future talks about a lot of things in a lot of his songs, and it coheres. It's a coherent theme in these songs instead of just being kind of all over the place, scattershot, like the Boogie with Hoodie stuff. and even 21 Savage on certain parts of his record. So yeah, Future is the guy that they're trying to emulate, so it makes sense that he'd be a little bit more, that he'd have this down a little bit more than they do. The young upstarts don't quite have the consistency that Future does.
Well, Future has been around for a bit longer.
Exactly. However, nothing special here. He's just doing the thing you expect Future to do. There is one song that has like a feature in it, and I don't even remember who it is, so that shows you how memorable that was. So it's a lot of songs that just kind of run together and sound very similar. It's very much in that lane. So if that sounds good to you, and that seems to be the case for most people listening to popular music, then cool. Then you have another hour-long record of this stuff to listen to. Another thing, though, that I thought about, and this says probably more about me than it does about music, the music industry as a whole, it made me think about my approach to listening to music and how certain genres maybe just aren't fit for listening to an entire album front to back. And I think that is something I didn't even consider when I went into this challenge for myself.
Well, you figured it's an album. It's number one. People listen to it,
these
right?
are not designed, I don't think, to play from start to front to back. I think these are mostly designed for singles, to be a generator of singles, which this thing will do. There are a handful of songs I could easily hear on the radio. I don't know if they expect you to slog through the entire hour like I did. And that didn't hit me until today when I was listening to this. That is no comment on the quality. This is a quality product, at least compared to the Boogie with Hoodie record, which is trying to do something very similar and largely fails. So there you go. I don't know how much more I can talk about it. I'm not super familiar with it. I'm doing my best, and that's part of this challenge, is I'm trying to do my best to understand these genres that I'm not familiar with. And so yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. If you know more about it, then you probably are yelling at your screen right now, trying to explain to me how good Future is and why I should care about Future. It's but at least I get him more than I got the other two records I listened to.
Well, like I said before our off podcast, I think this is more of a numbers game.
It is.
It's the number of minutes listened to it that puts it into.
They're going for the stream numbers.
The stream numbers.
What isn't going for the stream numbers, though, is everything else I listened to this week.
Yes. So, we have a return from Vampire Weekend.
Yeah, Vampire Weekend, after a 6-year break after their 2013 record, Modern Vampires of the City. Finally back, they announced their new record, which is called Father of the Bride. They put out 2 singles to start, I guess, an onslaught of singles that they will continuously release for the next few weeks. But we got the first 2. We got one called Harmony Hall, and we got one called 2021. Mm-hmm. Did you get a chance to listen to this?
No, I did not.
You should try it. You should listen to it, because I was very impressed. Mm-hmm. Harmony Hall, especially, is peak Vampire Weekend. It's just as good as that last record. It's like no time has passed. They picked up exactly where they left off. It even has a callback lyrically to a song off that record. It's very, very good. It's very, very them. It's a 5-minute long single.
5 minutes?
Harmony Hall is. The other one is shorter. The other one's more of a mood piece. I didn't like it as much, but it's reminiscent of the kind of the darker edges of that band and the quieter moments that they have. So yeah, 2 really good tastes of what will be what's looking to be a very, very good record. So I'm looking forward to that when it comes out later this year. Also,
listen
what
to
do I have on that
Mike
list?
Kroll.
Yeah, listen to Mike Kroll's Power Chords.
Power Chords.
That's a fun record.
Power Chords.
That's a fun record. It's exactly what you think it is if you know anything about Mike Kroll or his genre. He is a what you call a garage rock artist in the classic sense. This is lo-fi. This is just very simple, bleeding guitar sound songs. Just 30 straight minutes of that. If you don't want that, don't listen to it. But if you're like me and that makes you happy, it's really, really good collection of that. And if you were introduced to Mike Kroll's music via Steven Universe, this is a good time to jump in. He does not have that much music in his repertoire, at least full album-wise. So adding to that is he's an easy artist to jump into and discover his back catalog. So if you like that Steven Universe episode, check it out. Amethyst is right. What else?
And then lastly we have A Better Oblivion Community Center.
So, this requires a bit of context. This was a...
Who or what is Better Oblivion Community Center?
This is one of 2 surprise records. This is not the last thing I need to talk about, because I need to talk about something else that also happened last week.
Okay.
But yeah, this was one of 2 surprise releases that came out last week. Thursday morning out of nowhere. Or actually, no, I think it was Wednesday night after we stopped recording. Or maybe it was Thursday night of last week. Bright Eyes fame, Connor Oberst, and Phoebe Bridgers, one of my favorite, they have collaborated and created a supergroup that is called Better Oblivion Community Center. They premiered their first single on that on Colbert, and then the next morning, their whole record was available for streaming right away. So I listened to this thing, and if you know anything about Connor Oberst or Bright Eyes, it's like very emotional, like kind of folky inspired music. Phoebe Bridgers also makes similar kind of music, so it's a no-brainer that the 2 of them would have hooked up and been like, all right, cool, let's make a record together. And so, yeah, it's really, really good. It's in that folk indie rock kind of vein. If you like either of those artists, this is a no-brainer to check out. So it's very, very good, and definitely probably my favorite record so far in 2019, even though we're only a month in.
I said we're only a month in. Take yourself.
But then I also listened to, and I think I mentioned this to you off the podcast that I listened to this. I also listened to that Weezer cover record.
Oh, yes, you mentioned this.
Yeah, we need to talk about this, because this is secretly the biggest music news of the week, unfortunately.
Yes.
Weezer decided to surprise everybody and release an album worth of covers to follow up, of course, their Africa Toto cover that they had released
because
last
everyone
year.
loved the Africa song, so they figured, hey, let's make a whole album of covers.
Well, they did that to various results. Yeah, it's fine. It's Weezer covering these songs, and the songs they picked are the most middle of the road, like easy picks that they could have picked. It's very predictable. It's not super exciting because of that. It sounds like Weezer. The one weird choice is they cover No Scrubs for some stupid reason.
Yes, I saw this one.
It's not great, but they do it. So yeah, if you have any interest in hearing Rivers Cuomo do karaoke, then I guess listen to this thing.
Is that pretty much what it is?
Pretty much what it is.
No thank you.
Yeah. Anyways, that is all I listened to this week.
You listen to quite a lot.
I did a lot of music. Alright, that's it. Moving on.
Okay, moving on then to video games.
Video games.
Oh.
Week in video games. It was hard to narrow this down, so I do have, I didn't put...
Oh, you put the big 2.
I put the big 2, but I didn't put the other 2 bits that I had, but I'll mention them after we cover the big 2 stories.
Alright, well, before we get there, we have new releases with War Grooves for PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and the PC.
This is a game that is supposed to harken back to the Advance Wars games on the Game Boy Advance. This is supposed to be in style of those, because Nintendo refuses to make new ones of those.
Okay.
This company has gone on and made one of those.
All right. We also have Song of Memories with PlayStation and Switch.
It's a JRPG.
The Book of Unwritten Tales 2 for the Switch.
This is a port of a PC game from a while ago from THQ Nordic.
We also have Etrian Odyssey Nexus for the 3DS.
Yep, another Etrian Odyssey game.
And Spike Volleyball for PlayStation and Xbox.
Guess what that is?
Is that booby volleyball?
No, just regular volleyball.
That's regular volleyball.
Yeah, just regular. You're thinking of Dead or Alive Extreme Volleyball.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
That's not this.
Oh. Booby volleyball.
Anyways. So not a whole lot of big releases. We're kind of in the middle of the release schedule right now.
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts already came out, and then Anthem's not until the end of the month, so yeah.
Yep.
Or end of next month, I should say.
Well, I'll be busy with Kingdom Hearts, but we'll get to that in a little bit here.
Yeah.
So, we got to get through news first. First up is Metro: Exodus. The digitally distributed PC version of Metro Exodus is an Epic Games Store exclusive.
Surprise!
Yes. So, for those of you who don't know, Epic Games had launched their own platform.
Yeah, and we had been reporting on the podcast about how companies were making a big deal about putting out their games exclusively on Epic's platform as opposed to Steam.
Yep, well, Epic Games and Deep Silver announced on Monday that the game, which will remain exclusive to the Epic Games Store for at least the next year until 2020, where it will sell for $49.99, which is $10 cheaper than its currently listed price on Steam. That's for the standard version in North America, of course. It's going to be €60 for the European countries, sans UK, because they're still in limbo on whether they're in the EU or not.
until March, technically.
Yes. But anyways, in an update to the sales page for the game on Steam, Valve decided the last minute shift from Steam to Epic Games Store was unfair. So they're actually going to end up honoring all those Steam pre-orders.
Right.
Quote, "We think the decision to remove the game is unfair to Steam customers, essentially after a long pre-sale period, and we apologize to Steam customers that we're expecting it to be available for sale through the February 15th release date. But we were only recently informed of the decision and given limited time to let everyone know." That is Steam saying that. Basically apologizing that we have this game listed, but we're not going to have this game.
So yeah, two important things about the story. The first is obviously it takes place in a bigger narrative about a lot of things switching over to Epic.
Yep.
But the big news here is that this is the first time that Valve using Steam to actually talk about it, comment about it. Previously, they had been very mum about any of these major games moving over. Mm-hmm. This is the first time that they've actually said something about it, and it surprised a lot of people. I think the reason being because it does directly impact people on their platform who had already bought it. So yeah, it was a big deal.
Well, it's also a big release for PC games. Metro is a huge series on PC.
The second thing about this, and this is kind of actually an additional story that I saw today, after I compiled this news story, is that who actually executed this change is currently in dispute. So, real brief info about Deep Silver and their relation to the Metro series.
Yes.
So, Deep Silver, as you may recall, are the I guess they're a parent company of the developer in this case, but they also have a parent company who, believe it or not, also has a parent company. This tower goes pretty high. So what had happened was Deep Silver was the purchaser under a media branch called Koch Media Group. Koch Media Group owns Deep Silver.
K-O-C-H, right?
Yes, Koch,
yes.
Not related to the Koch brothers of political notoriety. Not them.
Yes.
This is separate. They also bought Volition, if you recall, the Saints Row people.
Yep.
So that's all one thing. But then last year, in February of last year, of 2018, THQ Nordic, the new organization, formerly Nordic Games, who bought the THQ name, is using the THQ name again, decided they were going to buy back, and using back in quotes, formerly THQ companies, including Deep Silver and Koch Media. However, these companies seem to still be delineated to a certain extent, because THQ Nordic went on the record this morning saying that they had no hand in this, and this was purely Koch Media's doing to change this at the last minute. So basically they were distancing themselves from the move, almost as if to save face with Valve and be like, this wasn't us, don't be mad at us. We have other stuff, probably like Saints Row or like the last year's Agents of Mayhem, that they would want to still be promoted on Steam. That they want to make sure that relationship isn't tarnished by this.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if Koch Media was one of the big investors, one of the 7 investors
of
Epic's big $1 billion influx.
And maybe they had ties to them before the THQ Nordic stuff happened.
I wouldn't be surprised if that all fits together.
Back pretty far. But the Epic Store stuff is relatively new, so that wouldn't have been cooking back in February of last year. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
It could be any combination of things here, but regardless, it's a complicated story.
Oh, it's complicated, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of things that are not that complicated, we have another game waiting to come out.
Yes.
This is a game in waiting. Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah. Oh boy, this was a surprise.
Yeah, so Nintendo decided to surprise, drop a brief trailer. But, whatever. It's not like it's one of the biggest games people are waiting for or anything.
Except it wasn't.
No. So Nintendo is bringing in Retro Studios to work with Metroid Prime 4's producer and start over on game development. Nintendo announced Friday morning, quote, "We have decided to re-examine the development structure itself and change it." Nintendo ended up saying in a rare video on YouTube Friday morning. Specifically, quote, "We have decided to have the producer, Kensuke Tanabe, work in trust and collaboration with the studio that developed the original Metroid Prime series, Retro Studios in the US, and restart development from the beginning." Mm-hmm. Now, I have heard this before with Kingdom Hearts 3, but that was not in relation to, we're just going to scrap everything we've done. It was, we're going to switch over to a new engine. And that was after a year and a half to 2 years in development already.
So yeah, this is bad news if you want to play Metroid Prime.
Yes.
Because this essentially means pressing restart will put this thing out another 2, possibly 3 years, depending on how long development takes.
And that's assuming development will go smoothly.
Yeah.
As I'm going to keep relating this back to Kingdom Hearts, because this is a game that people have been waiting literal years for.
Yeah, this is a tough one, a tough pill to swallow. But it's interesting, and the reason why I included this story mostly was because this is an interesting moment of transparency from Nintendo, a company who is rarely, if ever, transparent, especially about delays of their games. This is a company that typically just doesn't talk about a product for years, even if they've talked about it recently, and just lets you guess if it's still in development or not.
This is a company that made a Yoshi game, but would not tell you its release date until 2 weeks before it was going to be released.
So yeah, I thought this was a really neat thing for Nintendo to finally do. To finally be like, no, fans, we know you're looking forward to this game. We're going to be honest with you and tell you what happened. But the other thing about this story is Retro. And the thing that is interesting about this is that Retro is not the company that they used to be back when they made the first 3 Metroid Prime games. A lot of major staff has left the company since those games shipped. And so the people who made those games are not the people who are making this game. In fact, they're probably more similar to the team that made Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Retro's most recent release. Right. But people like those games, so that doesn't necessarily mean that this will be bad. It just means that this may not be exactly who you want working on a Metroid Prime game. A lot of those people ended up working for a different company who put out that Recore game on Xbox One a couple years back. Remember that disaster?
Yes, I remember that disaster.
But yeah, so who knows
how
this
will end up. It's a big launch game.
And who knows when this will finally come out. But it was nice to hear Nintendo actually be honest about it for once.
Yes, so I'd put this at 2025 now. You'll see Metroid Prime 4.
That's late. I'd say probably 2021 if I was to guess.
No.
It's probably a Switch game. It's probably not on the successor to Switch. That's my guess. It'll be like a pre-end of console life cycle Switch game.
It's going to be at the end of the console cycle.
That's my guess. But it sucks for Nintendo because I don't know what else they have. I mean, they have Luigi's Mansion 3. They have Animal Crossing.
They have that mysterious Pokemon game.
They do have a Pokemon game at some point. They have a that weird ass mech game at some point.
2020 will be Mario at the Olympics.
But it's not a big tier Switch release.
It will be.
It's a multi-platform thing, and you know it.
So stop.
Anyways, okay. Let's before we move out of news, though. Like I said, I have some bits I wanted to address.
All right, talk about the bits.
First up, follow up to our story about GameStop possibly looking to be purchased.
Yes.
Well, that story's over. GameStop is withdrawing themselves from the market because basically they reevaluated and decided that nobody would give them the money that they want.
Makes sense.
Especially going into a questionable future about retail games, considering that the two console manufacturers, Sony and Microsoft, could very well pull a discless console next time around. It is likely that a retail environment like GameStop might not be able to exist for too much longer.
Wow, discless console.
I know, right? Could happen. So that happened. Also, I wanted to mention there's a story out right now that's really interesting. Remember how we reported about all the madness of the Telltale shutdown?
Yes.
Well, something very similar is happening over at Starbreeze. If you recall, Starbreeze is the people who brought you... Well, they are most famous for bringing you shooters such as the Vin Diesel starring Chronicles of Riddick. Back a couple of console generations ago.
Yeah.
And most recently, I think they worked on the Syndicate reboot. They had some hands in a Walking Dead action game that came out last year. But yeah, there's a story out about them and how they're on financial hard times and how certain things got really messed up in the running of that company. That's out on the internet. Search that if you think that's interesting. It's very compelling. They're not shutting down, but it's interesting what happened to them. There was another thing that I don't remember offhand. I don't know. If it comes to me, I'll say it. But yeah, other than that, I just wanted to kind of do some story cleanup with those two.
Okay. Well, now it's time to clean up everything here. Because it's thoughts time.
You played a video game.
I played a video game.
Are you going to talk about it now? Or, here. Do you want to, we're at an hour 22. Do you want to talk about this now or do you want to do its own podcast? We don't have to do its own podcast.
Okay, so we don't
want to.
So we're going to have to do its own separate podcast. Because I will talk about this thing when I have completed the game.
Yeah, okay, fair. That makes sense.
Alright, but I will give my first impressions.
You've been playing, at long last,
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay.
So, the reason why we're going to do a separate special podcast is because I have a lot to say about this game. More than I thought I initially would.
Yeah.
The name of the game is Variety. And there is a lot of variety.
I have heard some things about this game.
Yeah, so the name of the game is Variety. No, the name of the game is Kingdom Hearts 3.
But it's also...
Yes. There is a variety of attacks. There's a variety of movesets. There is a variety of gameplays. There is just a little bit of everything in this game, and I love it.
From what I also understand, there's a variety of graphical quality, too.
Oh, I've run into that. I've run into that problem while streaming.
Yes.
Yeah, if you stream this game, your frame rate's going to drop.
But also, it seems like there's a strong chance that they may have finished parts of this game a long time ago.
Oh, yes.
And then some not that long ago.
Oh, yes. As I said, this game has been in development for literal years.
And it shows.
And it definitely shows. I will say that the choice to stick mainly with CG worlds is fantastic.
That's smart.
It is smart because the quality of the graphic quality for Kingdom Hearts now matches with that of those recent animated films.
Yeah, they're essentially to the point where they are doing real-time graphics about the same quality of Kingdom Hearts 1's CG cutscenes.
Yes.
That's about what we're getting.
Yes. And I remember little me, 12-year-old, watching it, those CG cutscenes and thinking, if they ever make a game where it's just those cutscenes, but you're able to play those graphics...
Well, they did.
Well, that's essentially what it is. 12-year-old me will be super happy with this game. No, 20-something-year-old me right now is really happy with this game.
Yeah.
I had a huge smile on my face opening this game, hitting play finally to start it, and...
I hear the gummy ship is back.
The gummy ship is back. The gummy ship is actually improved upon...
I somehow doubt that.
Oh, it's really good. In fact, earlier, I went and just So we did gummy ship missions.
Gross.
I didn't stream it, but
Disgusting.
it was just gummy ship missions because they were fun. This is a fun game.
Uh-huh.
There's a little bit of something for everybody. This name of the game is Variety. You can spend... The reason it's taking so much time is because these worlds are 3-hour campaigns each.
Oh, Lord.
And there's like, I think, 8 Disney worlds in it.
Disney
So
World.
that's 24 hours in just the Disney worlds before you get to the actual gameplay, like, story of Kingdom Hearts.
So you've done what, like Toy Story now?
I've done
Tangled,
17 hours worth.
Hercules.
I've done, Tangled, Hercules,
And Toy Story.
And Toy Story. And Twilight Town, technically. So yeah, I've only done the first 4 worlds of this game. There are another 4 for me, probably 5 or 6 actually, for me to go through.
Mm.
And those are at 3 hours apiece. So granted, I have another, let's say, easily 30 hours ahead of me.
And that's just the story stuff. That's not being like going back and doing the thing you do, which is cleaning up all the stuff and grabbing every little single thing.
100%ing it.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
So
not
you've got
including
a lot
that.
of Kingdom Hearts left.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So, one thing that I've heard, a little bit of a controversy among fans is the way it delivers its story.
Okay, yes.
Where people are talking about, like, there isn't a whole lot of Final Fantasy in this thing anymore. It's mostly just the established original Kingdom Hearts characters
Yes.
and the Disney characters, and not a whole lot of cameos from Cloud and Friends anymore.
No, because they don't need it anymore. They don't need that bump. They don't need the Final Fantasy bump.
But to a certain extent, don't you think a lot of people were sold on this concept back in the day because it had harkened back to all those Square games?
Yes, because they had a lot of impact to get it sold, to get people into this franchise.
And by the way, Square, I'm saying Square on purpose because, believe it or not, they weren't even Square Enix when the first Kingdom Hearts
they were
came
Square
out.
Soft.
That is insane for me to think about.
They were Square Soft.
But yeah, anyways, that's how long this franchise existed. But anyways, so like I saw a lot of people complaining also about like some of the cutscenes feeling old in like PS2 kind of ways, where it's like just the voice acting just is like weirdly paced and edited.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, that's mainly because they're all cutscenes. There is no more dialogue bubbles where you can skip through. No, they're all cutscenes. They're all voice acted because I have the budget for it. Everything is voice acted. Even when you go and talk to like some of the random people there, those are voice acted as well. No, gone are speech bubbles. And I'll deeply get into all of this in a full, in-depth Kingdom Hearts deep dive thing we'll do when I complete the game.
So I guess the only remaining question I have is, does this live up to your expectations? Because keep in mind, it's been a very, very long time since Kingdom Hearts 2, and since then, there's been a lot of other Kingdom Hearts games that have either made people more or less excited about the prospect of another proper sequel. Does it earn its place as a true number 3 in this franchise? Or is it really just, we took some of the things we learned from the spin-offs and we made another game that's like those spin-offs, except we called it 3.
It's been a while.
Yeah, which one is it? Is it Kingdom Hearts 3, like all capital letters? Or is this, they could have put this out as another spin-off and just never put out 3?
So, I'm actually in the off-branded base camp where I consider Kingdom Hearts 3D to be Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh, Dream Drop Distance?
I consider that to be Kingdom Hearts 3.
Well, you're wrong. It wasn't.
Yes, I know.
This is.
But this is actually Kingdom Hearts 3.
So, like, do you think it earns that title?
Like I said, I haven't finished it. But so far, what I've played, what I've gone through, I am severely enjoying, and it's...
Severely. Just a weird word. Anyways, you're enjoying it.
Oh, yes. I'm heavily enjoying it. It's living up to my severely high expectations of what Kingdom Hearts is.
Okay. Fair enough.
And like I said, we'll get into that more, but we're already at an hour and a half, so let's plug away here.
All right, well, we'll talk about more of that later. But in the meantime, if you want to hear us talk about other things, like a whole nother episode of this podcast, and more to come, you can tune in on Wednesdays as we go live with our podcast every Wednesday night. You can find us on YouTube if you want to watch us live streaming. Subscribe to our channel, and you'll get notifications when you're live. When we're live, I should say.
Yep.
So that's exciting. If you want to hear the audio version, you can also get in that. We're on Apple Podcasts as well as any other RSS feed-driven podcast store. Just search Media Boat Podcast and you'll find us. If you want to find us on social media, we're on Twitter at MediaBoatCast. We're on Facebook. Search Media Boat Podcast and you'll find our page. Like and subscribe, or like and, I guess, comment on that too.
Yep.
We also have Twitch.tv where he's been streaming some Kingdom Hearts.
Twitch.tv/MediaBoat
is where you can find that. And then lastly, if you want to donate to us, as little as $1 a month can help us. We still don't have any donors. Any donors would be welcome. As little as $1 a month can help us make better content and exclusive content for people who donate. So check that out at patreon.com/MediaBoat.
Yep. The next two worlds I'm going through are Monstropolis and Arendelle.
Oh, I want to see Frozen World.
I know. I've held off.
I'm excited for Frozen World.
I saw that. I held off on going to that, so I went back and did the gummy ship missions. That's why.
All right, cool. Okay, we'll see you guys next week. In the meantime,
yep.
This
Thank you for tuning in.
Over, and he's gonna go home and play more Kingdom Hearts.
I'm gonna do the Frozen World now.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye. Stop that. Doctor checked in to say hi, but she's cooking me dinner, so I'm gonna go do
so you gotta go home and eat.
I'm gonna go home and eat.
All right. Bye.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Be back next week. Bye.